Before I tell you about the racist interaction I have with an AI system, I need to share some background information so you can see where I'm coming from and why this interaction was really triggering for me. But I also want to let you know this video will likely stir up a lot of feelings, and it might get you triggered, and you might feel very angry or frustrated or want to just jump in the comment and say something. But I just invite you to watch the video at least once all the way through and kind of to get, I'm trying to get a point across here. My intention is not to alienate or hurt any particular group of people. I mostly want to raise awareness to systematic racism that exists in our societies, and we're kind of blinded to it. And also the dangers that systematic racism now is translating into the AI systems, and what potential things we can actually do to prevent that. This video is actually a little more hopeful than it is alarming, I think, at least from my perspective. But I first need to tell you, I have been living in Canada for 19 years. I immigrated here about 19 years ago, and ever since then my mental health has gradually been degrading, and I haven't been resourced enough to deal with it until recently, and I've been forced to really look at my behavior, and my mental health, and it's been really challenging. I'm working with a couple of counselors right now. I'm going to support groups, taking anger management. Like, I've had a lot of issues come up in my relationships that I'm finally forced to deal with. And one of the things that's coming up recently for me over and over, even in a recent somatic therapy session, it came up, and is recognizing anger in me as it's rising. So it was kind of my activity this week to look for what gets me angry. And this interaction with the AI system really got me angry. And I just felt it with my whole body. And I realized that it is triggering for me because of all the racism and discrimination that I've faced in Canada over the years. And I get really surprised when I talk to some people, and they're like, oh, Canada is such a beautiful multicultural country. You must be so happy to be here. Like, you're so lucky, you escaped from whatever place you came from, and all these sentiments. But in reality, Canada is actually really harsh for people, minority people. And I've never been in a workplace where I felt completely safe. And I've never been in a workplace where I did not have to put up with racism and discrimination. And in general society, in overall society, this is a daily struggle for people, minority people. And many people others who are comfortable and well supported may not realize this. But the thing is, it's actually really difficult to recognize and speak up about it. So I had decided to make a video about AI, kind of looking in the silver lining. And with AI, especially because my background is in computer science, I have been cautiously optimistic about it, trying to look at it, from different angles and see, okay, yeah, I can see it's very dangerous, but I can see some good potential here. So I've always kind of taken that approach. When I was in Human-Computer Interaction Lab at the University of Victoria, I had some really great professors, and they really instilled this idea of having empathy for the human beings behind the systems that we create. And that's kind of guided my whole career as I worked in the tech industry for the last 10 years. And I was a university instructor for 5 years in the computer science department, so I'm pretty familiar with these topics, these emerging topics, and I've dabbled in AI tools here and there over the last decade. And so I've been excited about it, but also at the same time, I feel that there's a lot of anxiety. It brings up a lot of anxiety because I see how fast it's moving and how powerful it is, and the potential for it being very dangerous. But anyways, I innocently decided to create my next video's thumbnail with one of these AI systems. I first opened DALL-E and decided to create, I had this idea of, okay, put my own image in a background, and I'm going to try to play with the idea of having the background filled with maybe half of it being a peaceful scenery and half of it being maybe a kind of a doomsday kind of apocalyptic kind of look. I was wanting to go that way, but I wasn't sure if I just want to keep it peaceful or not. But anyways, I started with a really simple prompt. in DALL-E. And right away, I was really kind of not impressed with the results that came out of DALL-E. And first, I thought I had this really terrible feeling about it, and I thought, okay, well, it's because of the uncanny effect, right? DALL-E is not quite as good as generating human faces, and they look quite, if you've heard of the uncanny valley, they're kind of, sort of perfect, but they're just imperfect enough that a human will recognize it, and it creates this really unsettling feeling for us, because it's we know that's not a human, but it looks almost like a human. So we need to cross that uncanny valley and make a picture that's unrecognizable from a real person, or use other effects to create the image that make it look like an artistic drawing or something, so it's more pleasing to the eye. So anyways, I decided to use another system. Went to Midjourney and tried that for the first time. And as soon as I signed into Midjourney, I saw what people are creating in the chat there, and it looked promising. It looked like people make some really cool stuff. So I was excited. I was like, okay, this will give me, I'm going to put my picture there, and I'm going to modify my picture to make it a bit more peaceful and confident. And I was excited. I was like, what am I going to look like if the AI takes my image and then makes me more peaceful and confident looking? Because that's what I want this video to be about. Is we want to use the AI, we be confident with it, and we want to go toward peace. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create an image of myself that looks more peaceful and confident. So I gave this prompt to the AI. I was like, okay, take this image as input and these words as input, peaceful and confident, and I don't want any text or anything on there, because I know they suck at producing text right now because they don't understand the language yet. These systems are pretty isolated and kind of still in development stage. So I did that, and right away it gave me 4 images, and I was hit. Right away I was like, whoa, what just happened? It took my image and it gave me back 4 images looking like a white person. And I was like, this is really weird. I don't look like any of these people. And it was really, I felt really angry. I was like, this is not right. Why are you telling me that to look more confident and peaceful, I need to look more like white people? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And so I was really frustrated with it. The worst part was when I started thinking about what actually just happened. The system took my image, it constructs the image until it's almost unrecognizable. That's how it works behind the scene. And then another part of the system will reconstruct that image, trying to make it look more the description. So the idea is taking that image as input and then transforming it based on the description to a new image. But what actually happened is, because of the training of the system, it takes my image as input, but it thinks a confident and peaceful looking man looks like a white person. So it will actually change my image into what looks like a white person, which is quite unsettling for me. This is not what I was expecting. I was expecting the output to be something that looked kind of like me, but just an expression of me that's more peaceful. Right? And before you jump into the comment and try to school me about, well, you just didn't know how to use the system properly, you just needed to put more commands to make it look more like you, or do this thing, or, I know, I understand we could fiddle around. I'm pretty familiar with that process of technology always showing up in these ways for other cultures, and I don't accept that answer. I think this really exposes the bias that's in the system, and this is an example that we should use that because we can recognize it very easily, because people's faces for us for most people is quite recognizable, and we can literally see what's happening. And this idea that it taking my image, stripping it down, and recreating it as a white person, for me is like a perfect manifestation of assimilation process. As an immigrant, I come to a colonial society. I'm stripped out of my culture. I have to be, over the years, over the decades, I have to be completely stripped out of my culture, and then I gotta rebuild myself to look more like a white person. And that goes back to the roots of the colonial society being built around white supremacy. And that is quite present in our society today, and it's something that we have to work. It's going to take generations of work to remove and create a society that's just and does not perpetuate harm and discrimination to minority groups. So where is the racism coming from? Is it inherent part of this AI system? Is somebody actually programmed it like that? Well, that's not actually how it happens. The AI system is really reflecting the racism and bias that exist in our society, because it's learning from the content that we are constantly creating. By default, I would expect the AI system to actually act like the real world to me, which the real world, the colonial society to me, is racist on a daily basis. So I expect the AI system that has trained from this society to act the same way. So in a way, I shouldn't be surprised, but it was still really frustrating. So I think this is actually a deeper conversation, and we can dig a little deeper. Where is this systematic racism coming from? And from how I can see it is that the roots of this goes back several hundred years, maybe more. But we know in the 1500s from the history that when the doctrine of discovery was established and the European settlers were given permission to take ownership of new lands. So this is the core message, okay? If you discover a new land, you can claim ownership of that and do whatever you want with it. And this is a very, very dangerous position. And it caused enormous amount of harm to humanity, right? Because then the Europeans took that, and as the colonialism continued to reach, and it moved to the Turtle Islands, they caused huge amount of destruction, destroying the lives of Aboriginal people and their way of life and their culture, and all, with a certain amount of arrogance and entitlement. So that's the real core problem, right? And we are still moving. Things are shifting, but we're still moving with that core energy. That if we discover something, or if we feel like we discovered something, then we have the ownership, and it doesn't really matter how it affects other people, how the human experience of other people is going to change. It's something we own. We want to do whatever we want with it, right? That's the kind of the state position of tech billionaires, right? They just we just want to advance the technology. This is for progress. We crush a few cultures on the way. Who cares, right? They don't really pay attention to how the technology can be dangerous and cause harm to people. So whose responsibility is it to actually keep these AI systems safe? The clear answer to me is obviously the responsibility should be on the shoulders of the tech billionaires that are investing in building these systems. But in reality, we know that they're not going to be accountable. They're just blinded, and they don't see their privilege and power, and they just plowing through whatever is in their way, causing an enormous amount of damage, all in the name of progress and profit. And so we should hold them accountable as much as we can. We should always focus on the responsibility being on the tech billionaires. But if you're actually interested in a solution, I feel like they're not going to offer a solution. And if we've learned that from the internet, we can try, and it's really important and it's really useful to put regulations in place. And I think with the AI, we should continue trying to put regulations in place. But what happened with the social media and other dangerous technologies that we've been exposed to on the internet, we can see that regulations are always lagging behind. And particularly with the AI, we almost have no chance of catching up with it now, because we are at the point of the curve where it's really, really steep, and it's really speeding up exponential growth here. And what we are seeing right now, these AI projects that we're right now talking about, like the DALL-E or ChatGPT or Midjourney or other tools that are coming out, these are just little tiny tech billionaire pet projects compared to what is going to come next. Because there's no rest for these systems. Like, they're constantly learning and growing, and they're going to merge, and they're going to break apart and merge again. And overall, they're going to go exponentially and expand throughout the internet and gain more and more capacity. I'll share with you just one example of how I think AI will have huge impact. And in this one, actually, I think it would be a positive. I think mostly it will be a positive impact. But one of the tools that's just around the corner here is the ability to translate videos into different languages. Just imagine you're watching this YouTube video and you wanted to watch it in a different language. You would have an option, and you go in, you select, Portuguese or Arabic or Spanish or whatever language you want to listen to this video, and then you would see me or whoever person is on that video actually speaking that language, even though I would never have the ability to do that, right? The AI system will take my content, it will translate it into the other language in a really native, fluent format, and it will animate my image to make it look like I am speaking in that language. So there's no closed captioning, there's no like text overlay or anything. It's just my video would be fully translated as if I'm speaking as a native speaker. And that's quite exciting. That will open up a lot of new opportunities for people to reach out. But what it will also do is the effect that it will have on the English language as being one of the main vehicles of colonialism. And thinking about the young people, like I remember me being 16, and when I decided I wanted to be really fluent in English, is because I wanted to communicate with other people. And I spend that time learning, and I mean, there's nothing specifically wrong with English except that it's extremely overused. And people then, if they don't have to do that, they can spend time learning their own culture and language or other languages that they're interested in actually because of the culture or the spirituality or the poetry or whatever that they're searching for. That would guide their choice of what language they learn as their second, third, fourth language, as opposed to having to learn this colonial language so they can participate in the economy. So that's going to flip everything around. And I think that's to me, that's an exciting change. That's an opportunity. So there are two important limitations that I can see to AI systems. One is that they only grow on the internet. Of course, in future, internet systems, as the AI is developing, will have a much further reach into our daily lives. But this is still a pretty clear boundary that the internet need to be present where AI systems can go. The other big limitation is that they only work in the intellectual space. They can only perform intellectual tasks and have and replace those capacity of human beings. And at first this can be a little scary, especially for us who live in colonial society, because colonial system and society is hyper-focused on intellectual aspect of human beings, right? We over-intellectualize everything about all the aspects of our lives. We've forgotten about other dimensions of being. And but if you look at traditional cultures, human beings are perceived in various cultures as a multi-dimensional being. Some culture, especially indigenous culture, will look at human as mind, body, and spirit. Or another way to look at human beings is having intellectual aspect, but also having emotional, physical, and a spiritual aspect. And it's really important to know that the AI system cannot penetrate those other aspects of human experience. Right? AI system cannot have an emotional experience or a spiritual experience or a physical experience of actually embodying a physical body in the way that the humans do. Yes, we can create robots, but the AI still has only that intellectual experience and is not operating in the same way a human experiences the world when it embodies. And as I'm learning more about what my body does and how it's acting like a memory system, I'm realizing more and more how important that distinction also is. And again, another unsettling aspect is that because we've kept ourselves occupied so much by intellectualizing everything, we are scared of AI systems because they're taking over and they're really kind of pushing us, forcing us to rediscover what our humanity, what it means to be a human. And we have to then reconsider everything about our ancestry, about our culture, try to rediscover ourselves in the other dimensions that we've been neglecting for so long. That's why I think going forward with this rapid development of AI, conversations around cultural appropriation and what's happened over several generations, all these conversations are going to be much more appropriate, much more important. And it's something that we have to work to be able to rediscover ourselves and find where we fit, because we can't really compete intellectually anymore with AI. It's basically going to force us to take a really deep look at ourselves. That being said, I really like the analogy of AI as being a human baby, even though it doesn't have all the other dimensions of an actual human baby, which would have like emotional, spiritual, and physical aspect to its being. AI system is only just an intellectual baby, but it's a really powerful one, and it's growing fast and constantly, and it's being created by all human beings. So it's kind of a baby for all human beings on the earth once. We're only going to have one chance at this, and there's only going to be one real AI system emerging, right? That's when we approach singularity, because all of these systems that are growing, they're going to eventually all fully integrate into each other and become practically indistinguishable. And at that point, we have no chance of going back and fixing things. So we have a lot of work to do now to make sure this baby is raised properly. It's like how we're interacting with it right now shapes its future, how it's going to act in future. But it's really critical because we only have one chance at this. And how do we interact with this baby? You don't have to be an AI expert. You don't have to be a programmer. It's really what you're saying and what you're putting out on the internet. That's how we're interacting with the AI system. So we're going to shift, I think, our perspective a little bit about content that we are creating and how important it is to be truthful, to represent, to stand up for discrimination, for bias, for racism, for any other harmful bullying, any other activity, to try to figure out how to go past conflict, have dialogue, connect with other people that we don't agree with. All of these things are now much more important because we need to figure these things out before the AI system learns all of these bad behaviors from us. So in a way, I feel hopeful because we have an opportunity all to participate, but I'm also I'm feeling the pressure from the system. I feel like, I want to break out of the system and I want to be openly talk. And that's part of the reason I'm putting out this video, because I want to reach out, but I also realize, I'm putting this out and the AI will also read and it will record this video. There will be lots of systems that will take this information that I presented to you, and it will do the same thing with anything you put on the internet. We are all constantly training the AI system. So yeah, that's sort of the key message I wanted to get out there to encourage you. If you want to participate in shaping the AI system, you don't really need any technical information or background. It's really, we need to fix our society. That's where the problem is. And if you're doing that work, I really appreciate, I love you all. Thank you for watching this video this far, and I will appreciate any feedback or comment in the description, or not in the description, in the comment section, and maybe we'll make a follow-up if you like the video. Thank you. Bye.